Or to this computer.
Recording in progress.
I don't know if you have anything to share, but
Not yet, but
that's up to you. There you go. You have things on your mind, you were saying.
so what does Islam mean? Exactly. It's submission. From which you would gather what is the basis of the religion. I can't hear you. Yeah, and this will be done through keeping of the Sharia, the law. And the law,
And prayers.
well, the five pillars, yes, but this keeping the law. What you don't find in Islam is any hint of a relationship with Allah. They don't talk in those terms. You keep the law, and that's how you show your admiration for him and stuff. Well, Judaism and then Christianity, our approach is slightly different. And in fact, I'm going to argue it's radically different, 180 degrees different. When you get born again, we get justified, a word that you've seen in Paul if you've read it. What do we think that means? All right, and how would you know if you're right with God? I can't hear you, Tom. I'm sorry. Well, I've got a freaking fan in my ear.
Your devotion, your
Devotion to, faithfulness to what?
God himself.
And that will be manifest how? Through a keeping of the law. No? Torah. We have Torah. And justification will manifest itself in sanctification. And what does sanctification mean?
By which you remain holy.
It's holiness. Sanctification is holiness. And holiness, you've heard a million, well, basically dedicated to God. That's what holiness is. All right, separated from, reserved for God. That's holiness. Now, in Paul, you get a lot of discussion about the law and its role. He has this dual relationship with the law, though. You can't keep the law, but you're supposed to try, he seems to be saying, which is kind of a, excuse me, a catch-22. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, you've heard it said, thou shalt not kill. Well, where's that from? 10 Commandments, right? Yeah, all right, thou shalt not kill. But I tell you, okay, how's that for a little wrinkle? You can't even think ill about somebody. I beg your pardon. You've heard it said, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I tell you, you can't even look at her that way. And by the time he gets to the end, what are the disciples saying? Who could do that? And what's Jesus' reply to that? Aha. I like doing my Fiddler on the Roof response. Aha. Did you sign up for donuts? Did someone call you and say, get donuts? Oh, you brought that. You're so sweet. Thank you, Courtney. That's so kind. Why don't we wait and let others have them? Okay?
Sorry.
My daughter. And we do. So, and Jesus says, aha, you can't. In fact, we have this famous verse where Paul talks about our righteousness. What does he say about it? It's filthy rags. And you know that's minstrel rags is what he's talking about. And you just go, oh, which of itself is beyond my belief. But that's Paul. He doesn't mince words. But that's your righteousness. Wait. So you tell me I have to keep the law, but if I try, it's worthless. Exactly. Because you can't do it. Well, and so what's arisen is the point of view that holiness is the product of obedience. But in point of fact, in New Testament Christianity, holiness is a byproduct of relationship. It is not something we strive to do. But Paul says explicitly, strive to do it. Yeah, but your righteousness is also filthy rags. What? Death. Would somebody take my daughter to the bathroom? Because we can't keep the law. We can't do it. And that's where the Ezekiel 28 passage comes in that I'm so much like to quote, which we will look at here because I happen to have a Bible up on my screen. If I have the right chapter, Ezekiel gets up. It's Ezekiel 26. No, not Ezekiel 26. Crap. 23? I'm just an Old Testament guy. I should know this. No, Ezekiel 23. It's the famous. Hey, we know you. Good morning. So I'll put my law within you and I'll make you keep my commandments. That's what Ezekiel says. And I can't find the passage. I don't know.
Right.
What?
Right.
36, 26.
Oh, 36. There you go. No, no, that's not it.
Yeah, 3:26.
Jeremiah 31:33.
It's 36. This is it. What I'm talking about, just Ezekiel 36. So, and he says, then I will cause you to walk in my statutes. What?
Oh, I was just saying Matt was the one who got the donuts. No. not-
No, Courtney did. Courtney was Miss Sweetness.
Wow.
Just walked in and just sweetly put it down. It was Courtney. I can't yell at her today.
Oh, man.
But it's too late, you already had your donuts, so. What a waste.
No, I'll have more. Those are Krispy Kremes. Krispy Kreme is fried air. With a little bit of dipped in sugar somehow. It's just. I grew up with Krispy Kreme.
Fried cotton candy.
No, it's fried air. Would you hand me one, Matt? Let me illustrate to our poor deprived friend.
Then before,
One time we bought Krispy Kremes and we had our kids eat them and now they won't. They hate them.
they were thoroughly disappointing, Don. I
Yeah.
can tell you.
They will.
Oh, your
never-
kids are,
No, I'm not talking about the kids, I'm talking about the donuts were thoroughly disappointing.
Yeah, we even, when we were out
Even
there, we went and had a Krispy Kreme one and ate like all the different kinds and we was like, this is not good.
If the best donuts that are made.
I'm sorry, where are you from?
We
You're
just
from
had-
Oklahoma City. You guys don't know what a donut is.
We've had Krispy Kreme before, Don, that's why we went there. They were disappointing, I'm telling you.
They were really bad.
At that Krispy Kreme.
At the one in Tulsa, yes. I don't either, but that's what happened.
It's really gross and Leah was just. and
I like them.
Just like.
I have liked them before, these were not good, they were
We had
actively
a
bad.
bunch of different flavors. We tried every
Disappointing.
flavor they had, including
There you
the,
go,
it
yeah,
was the one at Memorial and.
71st,
The only one we got in town.
exactly,
Yeah,
so there you
It was
go,
a bad moment.
disappointing,
no
Sorry.
donuts for us.
shameful, really,
These are from that location, aren't they?
they'd have to be, right? The only one.
Well, you can get them from Walmart or something.
They still come from that location.
I know that, but
So yes,
Now we're out on the Krispy Kreme.
that location run them, sorry.
I am so sorry that your life is forever
It's been changed.
suffering a deficit.
Donuts, no more donuts.
I think we're okay.
I'm not chewing them. It's just dissolving.
You need to put more flakes on me.
Yeah, those were extra glaze.
Yeah, the Krispy Kreme is good like that. You're getting plenty there, but on.
Was that Sherry?
Yeah. Hey,
Are you alive?
yeah. Thank God for antibiotics.
I hear that. So anyway, back to the point. So in Islam, you have to strive. And you have to do it. In some branches of Christianity, you have to strive. You have to do it. But biblical Christianity, it's relationship with Jesus. And the byproduct of that is the holiness. You spend time with Jesus, you end up not doing the unholiness stuff. I have something on my nose.
No, I was talking. This first, this inhaler.
I did. Oh, hell. Are you bowing before the Krispy Kreme? So, this, if that's why when you read Paul, it's so confusing. And it is. Romans. It's not I that sin. It's the sin that's in me that sins. I don't sin. Okay. That's a quote from Paul. Anyway, all right. Man, now my throat is
Something to drink on that.
got that. So you grit your teeth and you get a lot of white knuckling Christianity. And that doesn't work. So you have Augustine who looks at this and says, no, Christianity. A friend of mine was a hairdresser. That's what he did for a living. And he'd been doing it for eons. And we were having a small group in Colorado. And he told this story. You know how hairdressing works. The hairdressers will rent their booth. And it was at lunch. He was talking to one of them who rented a booth. And Terry Apple, great guy, dead now, was talking, and they were talking about Christianity, and it's a young woman. She goes, "No, Christianity's just a bunch of rules. Don't do this, don't do this, do this." Terry looks at her, and he's telling the story in our small group. He says, "You cannot be more wrong. Christianity only has 3 rules." No, really, only 3 rules. And what are they? Love God with all your heart and all your soul, all your mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do what you want. Now he's telling this story, and I didn't hear anything else the rest of the night. I just went into this meditative thing where I was just thinking about that. That is a quote from Augustine. He went on to explain. And I even have it in Latin that I posted on my office door at work. Love God, love your neighbor, do what you want. And it's that third one that pisses people off. And it does, violent. The reaction you'll get, the pushback. Do what I want. Yep. As long as you're doing the first 2, you can do whatever you want. Exactly. You mean I can see my neighbor's wife? Is that loving your neighbor? Oh. So I can take that candy bar? Is that loving the store owner? And it creeps in on them, and they figure it out. Oh, love God, love your neighbor, do what you want. It's not a bondage. Christianity is freedom. Literally, do what you want. And we live our lives in abject fear that I'm going to piss God off. I'm not doing what he's calling me to do and all this. Just love God, love your neighbor. Your wants will eventually come in line with God's desires. He's not in a hurry. We are, but he isn't. And Islam, here's the Sharia, we're going to tell you what it is. You do it. In fact, their life, the Muslim life, it's described as a jihad, a holy war, and not against their neighbors, against their own flesh. An internal holy war where they have to submit. And that's what Islam means. And a lot of Christianity comes that way. I'll listen to preachers and pay attention how often you get submission, effort language. They'll give you got to try harder. No, you can't try hard enough because as soon as you do, it's filthy rags. Well, that's a heck of a note. Exactly. Your goal is to love God, and everything else will flow out of that. It really will. And what is amazing is how little people trust that. They don't trust God to do that. Even though I just read it to you. I will make you keep my commandments. That's what he said. How did he get off saying that? Right up there. I'll put my spirit within you right here. Cause you to walk in my statutes. Don Vance did not make that up. That is not some perversion of Ezekiel. He just flat out says it. And you go, huh. And what is Joel? I mean, we've done this. I do the same 3 every time. Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 36. Eventually, I will remember that. And Joel 3. or 2 in English. I'll put my, old men will dream dreams. Young men will have visions. This is the walk of the Spirit. And that's what's fulfilled in Acts 2. That's what's the big deal about this. Paul's living his whole life where they have to keep the law by effort, but he gets to live after the pouring of the Spirit. He's going, Remember, he's in Damascus, just living there, wandering around the desert, having visions of God, and being explained all this to him by word of mouth from Jehovah himself. And he's sharing that. And that's why he talks about new creation. It's not, okay, now you're going to submit to the law better. No, you're a new creation. The justification, when God brought you, and justification, the best way to translate that is covenant compliant. I'm going to bring you into covenant compliance. That's what God says. Your effort's not going to do it. I'll do it. And when I do, you're going to be remade. You're a spiritual being. You're a new creature. Paul goes on, the law doesn't matter. What matters is new creation. That's Romans 6. I didn't make that up either. He actually says that. New creation. You're a new category of being. Islam does not have that. People don't like white knuckling. They'll do it. But white knuckling results in 2 things: defeat and judgment of others. I am more holy than you, Nancy. You sit there and do what you want. I'm holier than that. I can't do this. It's frustrating. And so that gave rise to a mystical movement within Islam, the whirling dervishes and all that. Because they want to have experiences with God. They see these Christian monks out in the desert having these experiences. Well, why should they have an experience with God and I don't? We serve the one true God. So they come up with the whirling dervish. People want God. And if you want to be an effective evangelist, that's what you got to introduce them to. And if you'll notice, if you've been paying attention, that's what Daniel's doing in church. And so we do these things where he's expecting the Spirit to move. And so he, like last week, we said, you know what? I feel the Spirit saying, those weren't his words, but that was the force of what he was saying. We're going to pray some more. That's our goal, is to experience God and to have him intervene in our lives. And remember, we serve a God who talks. That's the thing he says about himself. I'm a God who talks. These other gods are rocks. Why in God's name would you bow down to a rock? You carved a rock. It doesn't talk. It sits there. It's a rock. Why are you bowing down to a rock? He does not understand. And he says, yeah, I talked to you. I've talked to all of you. What happened on Mount Sinai? God talked to Moses. But do you remember he also talked to the elders? He sent the 70 elders up there and he talked to them. God likes to talk. He likes to commune with us. That's who we are in relationship with. A God who talks and a God who acts. Do not be frustrated over your inability to be holy. Just chase God. The holiness will come. It will.
So since you shared your hairstylist story years ago, I have definitely, that's been my filter for everything, life decision I've ever made. But then I get stuck on and be careful to obey my word. You know, just like there's just many spots in there where it's like,
For sure. So what do you think that's for?
I mean, I go into this accountability and structure and, you know, I dwell on that. You highlighted the other and I keep looking at, and be careful to obey merchants.
Well, how are you gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna make sure you walk. What is the function of the law? The function of the law is to show us where we fall short. That's its only function. Keeping the law is not the way to God. He's saying keeping the law is evidence of you being in relationship with me. It's not the method by which you enter into relationship with me. Do you hear the difference? So when I want to enter a relationship with God, I don't stop drinking, stop cussing, stop lying on my taxes. I pursue God, and the result is I'll stop drinking, I'll stop cussing, and I'll stop cheating on my taxes. Or whatever your thing is. I still like a beer on Thursday night. So, the law becomes the measuring stick to show you, well, this is the degree which you are being conformed to the image of God. So you can look at the law and this is where you're falling short. Not so you have something to work on. It's to show you we still have more to do. I have to be closer to God. And it's not to focus your attention, because as soon as we start doing, we're dead. We've got to be in relationship. It will manifest itself. If you're sleeping with your neighbor's wife, you're not close to God. I can assure you of that. When you get close to God, you'll quit sleeping with your neighbor's wife. Does that make sense? Go ahead.
That, I read that as the same as the first part. I will cause you to, and I will cause you to be careful to obey my rules. So I think of that as wisdom and discernment that the Spirit is providing it to us.
Yes.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, like I will cause you to remember that this is a
But again, the approach isn't via rule.
Just the awareness.
The rules are just a checklist. Oh, this is where I'm falling short.
Come in.
still him causing.
Yes. No, I just need to cool off. Like Matt, gotta cool off every once in a while. That's going, what do I gotta do? Why? Why are you doing this? So,
You're the ones that are pursuing God because they'll be in our heads, we'll have read it, we'll have heard it, we'll know it. And so there'll be, the automatic outflow would be, oh, well, that's something I shouldn't be doing because I'm pursuing God. And so it will happen.
if you pursue God, one of the things you're gonna do is read your Bible, right? And if you read the Bible, the stuff, it restructures your brain. What's he talking about in church right now?
Washing your brain out.
Exactly. And what he's talking about is this process, not being brainwashed, but how God conforms us to his image. And reading the word, you start thinking, classic, basketball player at ORU, reading his Bible, and he hollers at one of the other teammates, goes, hey, we're not supposed to be sleeping with our girlfriend. What? That's all right here. Really? Yeah. It wasn't pursuing the rules. It was pursuing God. And he brings that up. You hear what I'm saying? And, oh, that's right. We're supposed to go do donuts. Yes. All right. Because God forbid we talk about the Bible and walking in holiness. No, we must go get donuts. I'm actually in sympathy with that.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like something you're exactly doing.
No, you don't see me fighting it with tooth and nail. Yeah. No. So, who opened us in prayer? Matt did. Courtney, you're so sweet. Would you close us in prayer, please? Man, all right. I will be gone next week. I'm going to Atlanta for Thanksgiving. Be with my brother. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. All right. What?